This week on Pep Talk.
Reebok. What's that? It's a small South African gazelle. I think it was about 10 or 15 years later, the registrar came back and said, well, everybody now knows that Reebok is a sports shoe. The animal is very much secondary.
Wow, so you overtook the animal.
Absolutely. I needed to have products onshore in America. I needed a distributor in America. 1968. When did I get there? 1979.
11 years.
11 years to get there.
That's persistent sales. It doesn't happen overnight.
No, I think people call it resilience these days.
Yeah, resilience.
At that point, I knew we could make a 5-star shoe, and we did. Aztec. Aztec's the 5-star shoe.
So at that point, you're beating Nike, right? I mean, you're the 5-star shoe.
And that changed our lives forever.
Our mission is to help 10 million people start and grow a business. In Pep Talk, we interview industry-leading experts from around the world who share actionable know-how and life lessons. That's why we're excited to team up with GoDaddy to power Pep Talk. I have been using GoDaddy for years and would promote them on this podcast even if they didn't sponsor us. You can use their free website builder and start your online business at no cost, for example. You don't need lots of money to start a business if you leverage the tools at the Purposeful Project and GoDaddy. GoDaddy even help with naming a business. Check out the links in the podcast notes below to connect to GoDaddy tools. Today we have Joe Foster. He's the founder of Reebok. In 1958, an incredible company was born in the north of England and became bigger than Nike. Joe today is going to share with us his knowledge on trademarking, on sales, and give us a few stories from that time. Joe, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Simon. Yes, indeed. You're taking me back a long time now. Yes, we're going back, 60 years now? 50 years and more. But yes, those early days, quite amazing when we set up a small factory just away from the family. We left the family because that business was dying. Totally dying. So we set up a company. But the family was J.W. Foster and Sons, and we couldn't set up as J.W. Foster and Sons. We thought, well, we need a different name. So we set up as Mercury. Good idea, Mercury. The winged messenger, that was our logo. Great.
Why Mercury out of interest? Why did Mercury become the original name for Reebok?
Well, you think of all sorts of things, and I thought, well, Mercury, the winged messenger, that's something to do with athletics, running. It's a good thing, Mercury. It sounded good. It sounded something. We thought it sounded good anyway, and we were happy to go with it in 1958, which we did for 18 months, and we were doing well. We were making money, and our accountant, he said, guys, you're making money, so you better register your name. Well, I think I was about 25 at that time, and we were still quite naive. Why do we need to register the name? Well, he said if somebody else comes along and decides that, Reebok shoes, not Reebok, sorry, Mercury shoes, they're pretty good, and we're going to copy you. And you can't stop them because you've not registered your name. Okay, we'll register our name. So we applied to the registrar, we want to register Mercury. Oh, sorry, it's pre-registered. Oh, can you imagine what we felt like? We've been there 18 months and we're doing nicely and we've got all the logos, great stuff. And, okay, but they offered it to us for £1,000. Now £1,000 doesn't sound much today, but we'd set up a whole factory for £250, machinery and a lot. So you can imagine, 4 times that, we didn't have that money. So talking to the accountant, and he said, go see a patent agent. I know this guy in Manchester, go see him. So I did. I went to see him, and okay, so you can't buy it, so you've got to think of a new name. But don't bring me one name, I need 10. And I said, 10? How can you run a business when you think you've got to believe in that? 10 names.
So you can't just come up with a name. You felt like you had to come up with something you loved. There was something you wanted to fall in love with a name, not just come up with 10 names for the sake of it, sort of thing.
Well, yeah, you've got to think what you're doing is something that you aspire to, and it's something really sort of you could think, yeah, I can believe in that. And he pointed through the window. It was a nice day in May. He pointed through the window and he pointed to Kodak. And I'm saying, Kodak? What's with Kodak? Well, they made the name up. You don't find it in any dictionary apart from the fact that it belongs to Kodak. Oh, right. So if you can make a name up, great stuff. Okay. So we go off and we're sitting around a table like we're sitting now and we're thinking of names. Now, it can get silly when you're thinking of names, and we got a lot of silly names. We had Cougar. Cougar Sports. Sounds pretty good, that.
Probably wouldn't have stood the test of time, that one.
Falcon Sports. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
Not so bad. That's okay. But let me take you back to 1943. Yeah, 43. During the war. I'm young. I'm 8 years old. And like with COVID, we couldn't get anywhere. The seaside holidays were out. Now it was what you did at home. And they had these stay-at-home holiday things, and I was entered into a race, 60-yard race. Okay, I won it. Well, I thought I won it fair and square, but, I was wearing spike shoes because the parent company, J.W. Foster's, been going since 1895, and my grandfather is supposed to have invented the spike running shoe. I've got spike running shoes on. I'm running 60 yards, and I win. Fantastic. So I go, collect my prize. And what do I get? 1943. What do I get? A dictionary.
Oh, what a wonderful prize.
Yeah. And I'm saying, come on, guys, where's the ball? Where's the football? A dictionary. Well, a bit disgusted, of course, with a dictionary. But then, and I didn't know at the time, this was a Webster's dictionary. And a Webster's dictionary is an American dictionary. And there are a number of spellings in an American dictionary which are different from the English Oxford dictionary. However, fast forward, and we're now in 1960, and I've got my American dictionary just by my side, and we're trying to think of names, and I love the letter R. I don't know why. One of those things, like why did I pick Mercury? Don't know why, just like it. And so, letter R. I open my American dictionary at letter R, and I'm thumbing through from there, and I come across R-E-E-B-O-K. What's that? It's a small South African gazelle. We're a running company. Gazelle, that's it. Top of the list. Now, had I been looking at my Oxford English Dictionary, that would have been R-H-E-B-O-C-K and something. That would have been not as interesting. But, by accident, something that happened in 1943, instead of getting the ball, I've got Reebok.
Yeah, it's a great point, isn't it? Sometimes bad luck turns into good luck, basically, right? At the time, you're like, oh no, a dictionary, but it was all part of the fate of what was to come, right?
Well, yes, if you believe in fate, that was fate.
And the fact you won a running race, is the actual reason you got the dictionary.
Absolutely.
It feels like there was a predestined plan there for you to create something great, wasn't it?
Absolutely fantastic. But, I put this at the top of the list and took the 10 names back to the agent. He sent them through, they checked them all through, and the registrar. There's only one, that was Reebok, that was clear. A couple of things that were questioned. One was Reebok, and that was ladies' underwear. And the guy said, no problem. The other one was Railbrook. Railbrook was Tootles made shirts called Railbrook, but he was the agent for them. So he acted for them, and he said, no, we're not going to worry about Reebok. So we got Reebok. One caveat from the registrar was, well, you're going to have to go in Part B of the register. And we said, we did, we thought the register's a register. Okay. Why is that? Well, if somebody starts making shoes out of Reebok skin, you can't stop them. Okay, fine. And Jeff and I, we looked at each other and said, no, that's never going to happen. No. So we'll be Reebok. I think it was about 10 or 15 years later, the registrar came back and said, we've moved you to Part A of the register. And why? Well, everybody now knows that Reebok is a sports shoe. The animal is very much secondary.
Wow. So you overtook the animal in a literal trademark sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I think what you're mentioning here, again, is very useful for people to keep an eye on that. It can be a very costly exercise to start a business and then have to change it. I'm sure you had to remodel all the materials to rebrand for Reebok, and actually for small businesses that could really hurt you if you don't think about this ahead of time. And even today, I feel like a lot of people don't know what this story you're telling, this important, think about it ahead of time. And even you say registry B, and people don't understand what that is.
Well, I didn't.
I think it's, and it's all, of course, on the internet. You can Google trademarks, but a lot of people get confused. So it's a great story, though. I love the idea that you became more famous than the wonderful animal.
Absolutely,
that's incredible. I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Tailor Brands, for supporting this podcast and entrepreneurs. Tailor Brands are aligned with our mission to help you start and grow a business, and already empower millions of customers around the world to kickstart their business. With their AI-driven one-stop shop for aspiring small business owners, with everything you need to jumpstart your business, such as a logo maker, business mailbox, online and physical business cards, printed merchandise, social media tools, and so much more. To find out more about Tailor Brands and how they can help you, Click the link below and get 40% off your first order using the code PEP. Now, let's get back to the podcast. The other thing I wanted to ask you that I felt, you've got so much knowledge with your career and what you've achieved. Sales. Sales is something that a lot of our audience ask about. And I know you've got a lot of experience in it. And I'd love to hear your view on, what makes a good salesperson? What makes a good sale? How did you manage to get Reebok into America, because I know that was a big deal, and one of the reasons you became bigger than Nike was because of that deal. So share your knowledge there.
Hey, that would take me all day to share everything, but let's pick some bits out of that one. Yeah, I realised that J.W. Foster's, my grandfather's business, they didn't really recognise the fact that you've got to go out and sell your product. They advertised and they used the network of athletics, and that really grew the business in those, the early 1900s. Brilliant, fantastic. And gold medals and world records galore. So they didn't pick up on the idea that you've got to push your product, you've got to do something. And we were Reebok. We hadn't had that famous 1900s world records and whatever. And I thought, right, I'd jump in the car, go to these retailers. In those days, there were 3 or 4 ex-footballers had sports stores, and that's how the sports trade sort of run in those days. So I went around calling in the stores and saying, I'm Reebok. And the guy saying, who's Reebok? Like, oh, yeah, well, I
can't imagine that
Reebok.
today. People listening today can't imagine that no one knows who Reebok is. I think everybody knows. Right?
That was it. So I show him the product, and he looks at me and said, well, look, I've got Adidas and I've got Dunlop. Why do I need Reebok? And I heard that 2 or 3 times, and that was enough for me. I stopped selling. I decided, that's it, end of that road. And we used to go around to athletics meetings. And we used to sell out of the back of our car. And all these athletes, right, I thought, just a minute, that's my business. That's my trade. And it dawned on me that the 3As in those days, the Amateur Athletic Association, they produced a handbook. And in that handbook was the name and address of every secretary of every club in the country. We said about 300-400 or whatever it was. All right, no brainer. That was it. A letter to everyone. And I offered them 15% discount. So, and I said, look, if anybody in the club wants to become an agent, they can do. Just write in. I got over 100 agents on that first letter. And that was incredible. Excuse me. So, all of a sudden, I'm selling direct. And it wasn't long, probably a month or more than that. And these retailers, they were ringing me and saying, I believe you're selling direct to the athletic clubs. Well, we normally sell to the athletic clubs. Look, if you stop doing that, we'll stock your shoes. And I thought about it. No, I'm not going to stop doing that. Oh.
You cut out the middleman there. Sometimes they're in the middle. That would cause a big problem to go back to that way.
Yeah. Well, I said, look, you would get wholesale price. The athletics clubs, they get 15% off. And I know you probably give them 15% off anyway. So I'm not going to stop, but I will advertise that you will stock the shoes if that's what you want to do. Perfect. And I think 90% of the guys who rang up accepted that argument. But, we're talking about the UK. We're talking about athletics, not a big market. But I knew, because Foster's had been supplying Yale University 200 pairs of shoes every month. And these were the hand-sewn shoes. But I knew that market was big. So I wanted to go to America. The guys in the company, brother and the wives, they were saying, no, it costs too much. That's going to be, we can't afford that. No, okay. But I'm reading a book. It was Eurosport, a sports book. And the government were advertising in there. They wanted us to export. And they were willing to pay for a stand and our return airfare to the NSGA show, that's National Sporting Goods of America, in Chicago. They were willing to do that, plus 50% of the hotel bill if we would go and export. Well, again, a no-brainer. That was it. I had no resistance to me doing that. So in 1968, off I went with a friend, Bob Brigham. I went with a friend, and we went through Times Square. We actually stayed in New York. Bobby looked at the outdoor stores. I looked at the sports stores before going on to Chicago. Chicago, brilliant, nice, 4 days. And a lot of guys coming up saying, oh, love your product. Where do I get this from? And I'm saying, England. England. Is that New England? No, not New England. It's across the water, England. Oh, is that near London? Yeah, near London. Yeah. Fine. But I realized at that point that I needed to have product onshore in America. I needed a distributor in America. I'm 1968. When did I get there? 1979.
11 years.
11 years to get there.
That's persistent sales. That's something very important for people to make a note of. It doesn't happen overnight.
No, I think people call it resilience these days.
Yeah, resilience. It's.
But we got a lot of luck. And the luck was that in late 60s, athletics, running, in fact, road running, training, that became a big thing. It became a category. By 1975, there was a magazine called Runner's World, which started off as an A4 sheet, and by 1975 it was a full glossy magazine. Bob Anderson was telling you who'd run this race, because about that time, a lot of half marathons, a lot of 5Ks, 10Ks, and everybody's out there. We're talking about 360 million Americans, 10% were probably out there now running. So we're talking about 36 million out there running. Fantastic, it's a big market. And Bob Anderson thought he could tell everybody which shoe to buy. And he did. He said, the shoe to buy is Nike. That's the number one shoe. Well, Phil Knight's importing these from Japan. Can he turn up the sort of mechanism to get enough shoes out there? Because if we say there's 36 million runners, probably 3.6 million wanted to buy the number one shoe. The Americans love, wow, we're going to get the number one shoe. He could never get the product there in time. And 1 year later, Bob Anderson decides, oh no, we're having another shoe. It was probably New Balance. So that happened only twice, because then the retail trade was such a mess. Shoes were coming in that were no longer wanted, and the ones that wanted, nobody could turn it up that quick. So he changed to 5 stars, these star ratings. 5 stars would be the number one shoe, and then he go down 4, 3, 2. At that point, I knew we could make a 5-star shoe. And we did, Aztec. Aztec's the 5-star shoe. We tested this out as part of our gold range. Our gold range was, Inca was a spike, Midas was a road racing shoe, but Aztec was the road training shoe. That's where the volume was. And it was great. We did that in the Commonwealth Games in Edmonton, and we got a shed load of gold medals. Great, fantastic. So we're now February 1979, and I've got the stand again in Chicago, and I've got my shoe. And along came Kmart, and Kmart wanted 25,000 pairs.
Wow. And
this shoe wasn't even a 5-star then, but running was growing that fast. Oh, right. That was about 6 months' work for our small factory back in the UK. But, we realized that if we were going to go for a 5-star shoe, we needed help. And Barter, biggest shoe company in the world, down in Tilbury, they said they would help. I had a friend there. If you read the book, you'll pick up on why I had a friend there. We'll help you. Okay. But then Kmart said, we want a better price. And, right, I knew that meant that this wouldn't be made in the UK. It would have to be made in South Korea. Mm. But we'd already, again, made a contact with the biggest factory in South Korea. So we knew we could go there if necessary. And this looked like necessary. Fine. But I'm still there at the show, and along came Paul Fireman. And Paul Fireman, with his brother and his brother-in-law, they were running a wholesale camping business, with tents, outdoor business, tents, fishing rods, you name it. And Paul was obviously fed up of doing what he was doing. So he said, Joe, love to be your distributor, but we need a 5-star shoe. I said, come on, have a look at this. Aztec. Paul said, yeah, well, maybe it's going to be a 5-star, but it's not there yet. I said, well, I think it's June or July when the shoe issue of Runner's World was coming out. So he said, I'll be your man. If you get a 5-star shoe, that's me in. And, well, it's a long time from February to the end of June when the magazine would come out. So I'd, again, come back to the UK, went out, had a look at Paul Fireman's outfit, had a look at Kmart. At Kmart, I thought, wow, I might get 25,000 pairs here, but it might be my first and last if I don't sell enough, or they don't sell enough shoes on that square footage they're going to give to my product. Mm. But Paul, okay, small company, but he had reps out there. And the main thing is, you can see when a guy is interested. He was not just Kmart, a big operation. He was Paul Fireman, and he wanted something different. He was hungry. He could sell that. I think in America in those days, called if you've got wrinkles in your belly, you're hungry. You need something. I could see that, but we needed a 5-star. Paul came over to the UK because he wanted to see what was Reebok like. Of course, he didn't know Reebok. Not many people in America did. And of course, we had 3 events that he went to, and the winner was Reebok. I wonder why. And 50% of the people running in those races were wearing Reebok. He was convinced.
That's clever. So you used social media. Today they'd be called social media influencers, really. But
Right.
you used people of influence that were successful to leverage them, lift the brand up. You're probably one of the first companies to maybe leverage that kind of model. Other people being successful, therefore translated into your shoe being the best shoe.
Yeah, I mean, we use a lot of things like that. In city marathons became television. That was it. Everybody went watching these city marathons, and we set up our company, Reebok Racing Club. We set up Reebok Racing Club, where we would sell shoes and we'd sell vests at cost price to athletes. We'd give them top athletes. And our top athletes used to enter into these races. They were not the ones who were going to win. But we said to the guys, look, here's the kit, you get your shoes, just stay at the front as long as you can in the television. It doesn't matter that you don't win the race, but if you're up front, they're going to be seeing Reebok Racing Club, Reebok Racing Club, Reebok Racing. They're going to be seeing that. So, that's one of the things that we did. That, again, using the media. But we talked back down to Aztec. And we came along there. It was the end of July, I think it was, when the magazine came out. And I picked up the phone to Paul Fireman. And I think I must have got him out of bed. He was a bit sort of dozy. Probably 7 o'clock in the morning for him. I said, Paul, get down to the local kiosk. See if the Runner's World's out. See if we got 5 stars. He did. An hour later, he came back. Joe, Aztec, 5 stars. Fantastic. That was it.
So at that point, you're beating Nike, right? I mean, you're the 5-star shoe.
Well, yeah. Well, I think Nike also had a 5-star shoe. I think there was about 4, maybe 5 5-star shoes. But the point is, we had one. So at that point, we were on the hook. We were going to go into the market. Instead of us push. And I had 5 or 6 failed attempts with different good guys, but they couldn't get into the market. This one would bring us into the market. So, but he also said, you've got Inca, 5 stars, and Midas, 5 stars. We had 3 5-star shoes to get into the American market. And that changed our lives forever.
I can imagine. That's amazing. Thank you for listening to our podcast today, and I hope you got value from it. Please feel free to follow us on any of our social media channels, and if you have any questions about business, ask us. We will help you. Again, we want to thank our sponsor, GoDaddy, for supporting this podcast. From naming your business and buying a domain name to building a website for free, GoDaddy has you covered. GoDaddy provides us entrepreneurs with all the help and tools we need to grow a business online. You're not alone, entrepreneurs. See you in the next one.